is a question that was emailed in. Do all forms of LDN have fillers? This is an interesting question because it's one of the most commonly asked questions. There's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet, and I can't stress to you how much having a relationship with your prescriber and your pharmacy are important, and not to believe everything you read on the internet. So, in order to make a pharmaceutical formulation stable and to make it safe and that it doesn't go off or grow bacteria, almost everything needs to have some sort of, inverted commas, filler. Water is considered as a filler. So there are minute quantities of fillers in almost everything, and fillers can be everything from E numbers to colorants to things like glycerin, and there are some, naltrexone tablets, for example, contain lactose. So we've obviously worked over the years to make sure that nothing that we make, for example, contains lactose, because that's a very common, people react very commonly to lactose. There are a great number of people who ask about fillers because they read on the internet, that, oh, I'm multiple chemically sensitive and I must be avoiding this, this, and this. Generally, the number of micrograms of fillers that you're going to get in most forms of LDN are so insignificant that the benefit of the LDN is going to greatly outweigh any possible reaction you're going to have to the tiny, tiny, minuscule amounts of filler. But we do say for people who are multiple chemical sensitive that the capsules are probably the lowest in content in fillers. So there's barely any colorants, barely any other ingredients other than naltrexone and some powder. But the sublingual form as a liquid is the most flexible dosage mechanism that has the least number of preservatives or fillers as they're discussed. So that's the question there. Can you explain why LDN needs fillers? This is another question that was emailed in. And LDN needs fillers because you couldn't possibly measure 4.5 milligrams or 0.5 milligrams. You wouldn't be able to see it on a spoon. You wouldn't be able to measure out from powder to take an individual dose accurately. So it needs to be scaled up to a macro scale that we can see, so we can make sure you get an accurate and reasonable dose. You also need fillers in many medications to preserve stability so that it lasts longer than a week. Because bacteria are all around us and they love eating anything with sugar in it, and they love eating or digesting any molecules that they possibly can, including drugs. So there are fillers required in a great number of medications. Although we try and minimize them and keep them to the absolute bare minimum for LDN, that is the reason for the somewhat complicated, keep it in a fridge, don't open it, keep it closed. And that's all to protect the patient's safety while exposing you to the least number of